If we wanted to do a list of the biggest advances in medicine, we would certainly add antibiotics, which help to fight bacterial infectious diseases. We perhaps would also add diagnostic methods like colonoscopy, mammography, which help us to detect cancer earlier so we can better treat them. We would perhaps also add cancer immunotherapy with a lot of success especially in the past years. But we also should add at the very top vaccines. Vaccines helped to eradicate smallpox. They helped to reduce measles, to reduce polio, with all these complications these viral diseases can have. So one would assume that America stands united behind the success of these biomedical innovations, but the contrary is the case. Vaccines is subject of a deep division in society and in politics. Why is that? Is it just a matter of misinformation? Or is it just a lack of a reasonable, intelligent dialogue? Hi, I'm Manfred Stapff. Welcome to the real-world evidence perspective, which brings you truth, data, and candid context. In this episode, we will have a look at the controversial discussion about vaccines. Is it all because of misinformation? During another episode, we have specifically talked about autism and measles vaccine, and we have debunked this myth. Today, we will look a little bit more general into the vaccine topic overall. We have to look at the science, at the ethics, and at the politics. Remember, in order to form an objective opinion, one has often to look behind the data, behind the facts, and also look at everything in the overall context. The science of vaccines seems to be pretty clear. Almost all vaccines are far above 90% effective to prevent a serious disease. Not all vaccines present with 100% an infection, but they protect you with at least 80, mostly 90%, almost 100% from a severe disease or hospitalization. Flu and COVID-19 vaccines are not as much effective as MMR. MMR includes the measles vaccine, but they are around 50% against the infection. But this suboptimal infection protection is perhaps a reason why vaccinations, mandates especially, have been heavily criticized. It is a core principle in medicine that for each action which a physician does, which a nurse does, a nurse practitioner does, there must be a benefit-risk evaluation, and the benefit must always overweight the risk. So here the benefit, meaning protection from a severe disease, is absolutely clear. But we also have to look at the risks and at the side effects. Everybody who ever got a vaccination knows that for a few days we may have some pain, some discomfort on the injection site. We may even get a little bit of fatigue, a little bit of headache, a little bit of muscle ache, perhaps even a mild fever. And these are all signs that the immune system is working. So this is what we expect. We want the immune system to be active and to create a defense against future infections. Very often these mild side effects disappear after a few days by themselves, sometimes need a little bit of a painkiller. So this is just a sign that the vaccine and the immune system are working. On a population level, so one can say the vast majority of side effects are mild and self-limited. More serious side effects, those we are really afraid of, are very rare, much less than 1 in 1,000 or 1 in 100,000. And these are often serious immunologic or inflammatory side effects of the immune system. Since such serious side effects are extremely rare, the overall risk of a serious illness by the disease we vaccinate against, by the disease itself, are much higher than the risks of the side effects of the vaccine. By the way, the myth about the measles vaccine and autism has been debunked. We talked about it in another episode. It has been debunked by hundreds of thousands of vaccinations that there is no causal relationship. The myth, the fake news just started by 12 cases and a very disputable publication by one author, but it's brought up again and again. So measles vaccination and autism, it's a myth, it's fake. If a side effect is very rare, let's say 5 in 100,000, if you have millions of vaccinations, this is what happened during COVID, then you have hundreds or perhaps even thousands of rare side effects if you have millions of vaccinations. And it does not help the individual person if we tell them, oh, that's very rare, that's tough luck, you are just a victim of statistics. For the individual person, if it hits you, statistic doesn't matter. If you go in a casino, you want to be 1 in 100,000 and win the jackpot, or if you play the lottery. In medicine, you do not want to be the 1 in 100,000. But does it help you as an individual if you get hit by statistics? Same with violent crimes. Even if statistics show that the crime rate goes down, if you have been raped, or if you are a parent of a murder victim, it does not help you if one tells you, oh, the statistics shows the rate is going down. One victim is one victim too many. This is why scientists and vaccine critics rarely find a common ground for a conversation. Epidemiologists and scientists, they talk about the population level, they talk about statistics. Parents and vaccine critics want to look at the individual, and they see the individual persons who experienced a side effect. When we vaccinate a child, we stick a needle into a perfectly healthy body. And of course, we don't want to impose a risk. One of the basic principles in medicine is first do not harm. So first, we want to exclude a risk. We do not want to harm. The protective effect, the benefit, is not always immediately visible. Not only the protection of the individual is important when we talk about vaccines, but we are also doing a service to the community, to the social system, because vaccination usually reduces the likelihood that we spread the virus and infect others. So it's a little bit similar, like we have to pay taxes for the sake of the society, for the sake of the community. Paying taxes is painful, we don't really like it, but we have to do it because it's sort of for everybody. Similar with vaccines. Vaccines are painful, we protect ourselves, but we also protect the society, we protect the community, we protect the childcare, the schools, the colleges, or the place where we work. This brings us to policy and lawmaking. Since most vaccinations are done in healthy people and the potential benefit is not immediately visible, vaccination mandates often face resistance. Americans have strongly developed a culture of personal freedom and individual responsibility, and a suspicion of government supervision and control. Unfortunately, this leads to a significant politicization, since one party favors the individual responsibility and another party favors government support and government supervision. Politicians focus mostly on strengthening their own power and their own performance, their position, their ideology. They do not always have the benefit of us, the people, primarily in mind. If politicians scream at each other in congressional hearings about health topics, I found this disgusting. I found it irresponsible. Health topics are not a subject for ideologic discussions where you scream at each other. These are elected people, our representatives, and they do not have their emotions under control when it's about such important topics like vaccines or the health of the population. So I showed you some data and some facts about vaccines, the benefits, the risks, and how to see the big picture. It's obvious that vaccine mandates may be necessary in rare cases in order to protect the community, to protect the healthcare system in an outbreak, because the pandemic of a serious disease can have disastrous consequences on the society, on the healthcare system, on our economy, as we have seen during the pandemic, during the COVID pandemic. But mandates can only be justified in emergency situations when it's really, really necessary. They have to be very, very well considered, and they have to be very, very well communicated. Not always scientists are the best communicators, and this is why we sometimes developed a little bit of a mistrust versus scientists. It's often a communication problem. The people need to understand why vaccinations are necessary, and in extreme cases, why mandates have to be issued. In order to develop a reasonable opinion and do the right things, you need the best information you can get. So you need to learn how to evaluate, how to interpret what you see in cable TV, what you see in social media, what you see in the newspapers, how to double check, how to fact check news and sentences. You need to be intellectually educated. In order to help you with that, I published my book, Real World Evidence Unveiled, Navigating the Maze of Modern Misinformation. So it shows you how to look at information, how to interpret it, how to detect fake news, how to differentiate misinformation from disinformation, how you can also identify the pitfalls of statistics. If people try to make arguments with data, you can also misinterpret them. I hope this short overview gave you a few hints on how to address controversially discussed topics and how to come closer to facts and how to base your opinion and your decision in daily life on real evidence. Thank you for watching the Real World Evidence Perspective, which brings you truth, data, and candid context. Don't forget to like, forward, click on it, comment, or subscribe, whatever you feel appropriate. Thank you very much.